We all get angry. It's a fact of life, right? We see it as this flash of emotion, a momentary loss of control. But what if it's something way more sinister than that? What if anger isn't just a fleeting feeling, but a disease quietly taking root inside of us? Let's dive into this pretty unsettling idea.
And this is the central question here. Is anger simply an emotion that we all experience? Or is it more like a venomous snake, a viper, whose poison just spreads everywhere once it strikes? It's a really provocative thought, and it's kind of the key to this whole perspective.
And that brings us to this really stark proposition. The idea here isn't that anger is like an illness, it's that chronic anger is a form of mental illness. You can think of it as a recurring seizure that can be triggered by the smallest, most unfavorable little thing. Okay, so if we're going to call it a disease, you have to ask, where does it come from? What's the origin? Well, according to this view, it all starts with something called the inner wound. I mean, just think about it. A life that's filled with constant setbacks, moments of deep humiliation, or, these desires that just never ever get fulfilled. Those experiences don't just disappear. They pile up, and they leave behind a kind of psychological scar, a tender wound deep in the subconscious. So here's how that wound erupts. The source describes it as a kind of mental short circuit. First, the wound is just there, generating this latent heat in the brain. Then, something small happens, some external trigger. And that's the spark. All of a sudden, the nerves are jolted, the brain gets overwhelmed, and it completely loses its ability to regulate anything. It is a total system overload. But here's the thing. That mental short circuit doesn't just stay in the mind, oh no. It floods the entire body, turning it into a system under siege, a body at war with itself.
Now, this is a really stark claim. The argument is that the state of anger literally generates toxins, actual poisons that get into your bloodstream. And over time, the constant presence of these toxins begins to corrode and decay the body's internal organs from the inside out.
To illustrate just how toxic this is, the source cites a pretty chilling experiment. Scientists in New York reportedly took blood from a person in a state of intense anger and injected it into a rabbit. As this timeline shows, the results were terrifyingly fast. Within 22 minutes, the rabbit became aggressive. By 35 minutes, it was self-mutilating, biting itself, and in less than an hour, it was dead. It's a stark, brutal demonstration of the poison we're talking about.
So let's try to put a number on this physical toll. Consider a single burst of anger. Let's say it lasts just 15 minutes. How much damage could that really do? Well, according to Dr. J. Astor, a researcher cited in the source, the cost is absolutely staggering.
Just look at this comparison. Those 15 minutes of rage burn the same amount of physical energy as 9.5 hours of hard physical labor. It's an immense, draining tax on the body's resources. I mean, imagine putting your body through a full day's work on a construction site in just a quarter of an hour. That's the physical price of anger.
And over time, that price becomes a debt the body just can't pay. The toll adds up in a whole host of debilitating physical symptoms. The source lists everything from a jaundiced, yellow appearance and wrecked digestion to a racing heart, constant headaches, and even breathlessness after the slightest exertion. The body is, essentially, breaking down under the strain.
And this internal decay, well, it inevitably spills outward, leading to a life in a state of total collapse. That poison doesn't just stay inside the body. It contaminates every single relationship and every single endeavor.
So who bears the brunt of this? As this chart shows, it's everyone. At home, it leads to constant strife. In the community, the angry person becomes an object of contempt, even hated by neighbors. And professionally, it is a recipe for disaster, alienating customers and displeasing bosses, leading eventually to total failure. It's a path to isolation.
Ancient wisdom has reflected this understanding of a downward spiral for ages. This quote from the Gita lays out the progression with chilling clarity. It starts with delusion, a loss of connection to reality. That leads to memory failure, then a loss of intellect, until finally there's nothing left but complete self-destruction.
The Bible offers another powerful metaphor, echoing that idea of a hidden poison. Holding on to anger, especially overnight, isn't just unwise. It's like willingly sharing your bed with a deadly snake. The danger is constant, intimate, and right there next to your heart. And finally, the philosopher Seneca frames it as an inescapable fate. He compares anger to misfortune itself. Once it latches on, it follows you relentlessly until there's nothing left.
3 different sources, from philosophy to religion, all pointing to the same bleak, all-consuming outcome.
So after exploring its roots in the mind, its poison in the body, and its ruin in our lives, we're presented with a final warning. It frames anger not as just an emotion, but as a great disease that demands our full attention.
And this is the question we're left with. The source material doesn't provide a simple cure, it just leaves us with this critical question to consider. If this perspective is true, if anger really is this great disease that poisons the body, destroys the mind, and ruins a life, then how in the world can anyone get rid of it?